Welcome, Patriots. God bless you, and welcome to Patriot News Broadcasting. We are halfway through September, aren't we? It's moving by quickly. I heard Nino talking about his birthday the other day. His birthday is the same day as my older brother. Interesting. It's good to see you all tonight. I'm wearing my NFL shirt because I am frankly mad at the teams that refuse to acknowledge the Charlie Kirk stuff, and they really need fined for it, honestly, but that's another topic for later. We're going to look at the news tonight. We got a lot of things to look at, and including a few Charlie Kirk related things that we will look at some point tonight. So good to see you guys. Tonight we start out in Israel, in Gaza. I find it interesting. They're coming out today with these articles like, we've just launched our ground offensive. Like, I could have sworn they were doing this already. Maybe that was just the air offensive. I don't know, but apparently now it's ground offensive.
Leave a dangerous combat zone now. That is the Israeli military's warning to Gaza City residents as its ground incursion into the city begins. Israeli officials say the long-expected operation started early Tuesday and will proceed gradually, with the expectation of fighting up to 3,000 Hamas militants still believed to be there. Gaza health officials say overnight strikes killed dozens more people. The United Nations Children's Agency, UNICEF, warns intensified military operations in Gaza City will multiply children's suffering exponentially. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is...
You know, I've seen a lot of footage from Gaza in the past year and a half, but I've not seen anybody with weapons or anything. I really wonder, they expect to encounter as many as 3,000 Hamas fighters. That's a big drop in Hamas membership, it seems to me. But I don't know. They are finishing it off, I guess. It's time to get it done. Well, we're going to look at that at some point, Anita. You're asking, wondering what we might be getting distracted from. I don't know that exactly, but I was told to watch Utah this week, and we're going to talk about that at some point again. A lot of countries are mad at Israel: Germany, Luxembourg, Spain, and Saudi Arabia specifically is not too happy.
And we reject and condemn the actions of the occupying authority of Israel in the region, the latest of which is the brutal aggression against the sister state of Qatar, which requires an Arab, Islamic, and international response to confront this aggression, and to take international measures to stop the occupying authority and deter it from its criminal practices that destabilize the security and stability of the region. We will...
A lot more stuff coming out about Israel lately. What you guys think of those videos in the intro? That one that showed the AI, what people can do with green screen. It's really amazing and quite terrifying, really, when you think about it. So you guys probably remember the days of worrying about the ozone layer. And for what it's worth, I don't know. I know some people think there's a big hoax to it all. Maybe. Earth's protective ozone layer's healing in the hole should fully disappear in coming decades, according to the United Nations chief.
And let's now bring you some good news from our planet. The Earth's protective ozone layer is now showing signs of recovery. That's according to a new United Nations report, which says that ozone hole could completely heal in coming decades. It is all thanks to decades of global cooperation. A new bulletin from the United Nations World Meteorological Organization reveals that the ozone hole over Antarctica was smaller in last year, 2024.
It's just interesting to me. It's a change in tune, sort of, almost. They're usually talking about, worry about this, worry about that, worry about the tsunami that may never come. And Now they're kind of talking about positive stuff. Bit of a change. And, Marjorie Taylor Greene was talking about weather modification stuff in Congress today. We're going to look at some point. You heard Congress voted to hide the Epstein files. I don't know. They've been releasing a lot of Epstein files. I don't know if anybody's been reading through them or not. I see all these people saying, release the files. And I kind of wonder if they're looking at the ones that are already out even. Colombia halts U.S. arms purchases over drug blacklisting. I didn't know we were selling guns to Colombia, number one. Trump did confirm we've knocked off 3 boats. So that's good. I'm not crazy when they said 2 yesterday. I don't know how that got mixed around. But interesting thing about the Colombia situation is it's kind of back and forth. The one hand, there's like... Colombia is blaming itself, then they're blaming the U.S., then the U.S. is blaming Colombia. So you got this back and forth here.
A punishment for poor results. That's how the U.S. is framing its decision to decertify Colombia as an ally in the war on drugs, overturning almost 30 years of cooperation and jeopardizing hundreds of millions of dollars of U.S. aid to the country. Since 2022, cocoa cultivation has increased by around 70% in Colombia, a jump that the Trump administration blames on the country's left-wing government.
Under President Petro's leadership, coca cultivation and cocaine production have reached record highs, undermining years of mutually beneficial cooperation.
You could see why that might irritate Trump.
Y que es que los Estados Unidos nos desertifican. Después de decenas de muertos de policías, sobre todo de soldados, de gente del común, tratando de impedir que les llegue la cocaína. Porque todo lo que hacemos realmente no tiene que ver con el pueblo colombiano, incluso.
Kind of trying to show you, some people are upset, some are just, and this is the defense minister.
Si esa desertificación ocurre, pues simplemente nosotros perdemos la capacidad de contener esa amenaza. Ojalá fuera eliminarla. Entonces, al no poderla contener, va en contra de los intereses de Estados Unidos.
They're clearly worried that if this goes through, that they'll lose any control that they already have over the drug trade down there. And if it's up by 70%, it sounds like they don't have very good control over it. So maybe it's time. No information in the files that Epstein trafficked women to others. This was from Patel today, and you gotta sort of read between the lines in all this. He says Jeffrey Epstein was not an FBI intelligence asset. He says he can only speak for the FBI, which does leave the door wide open for CIA and Mossad and other things, of course. And you kind of got to listen. Let's listen to what he says.
Who, if anyone, did Epstein traffic these young women to besides himself?
Himself. There is no credible information. None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals. And the information we have, again, is limited.
So the answer is no one?
For the information that we have.
In the files?
In the case file.
Okay. Now, President Trump has deferred to the FBI and the Department of Justice with respect to the Epstein records. He says it is your call about releasing them. And I understand that the department and the agency have decided to release them in cooperation with the House committee. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So you're releasing them a little bit at a time. Is that correct?
And they're specifically talking about human trafficking there, nothing else, not kidnapping or assault. MJ Truth said this, everyone's missing it, it's right in front of their face. Listen to what Patel says. What exists in the FBI case files was a direct result of the limited search warrants from 2006 and 2007, which hamstrung future investigations because of the non-prosecution agreement. James Comer recently announced he has subpoenaed Alexander Acosta regarding Epstein, and he's agreed to come in September 19th, which is 3 days from now. Remember, there was a mysterious glitch that deleted all of Alex Acosta's email dating back to May of 2007, the same month the FBI wanted to arrest Epstein. Why is that important? Just recently, an Obama-appointed judge blocked the Trump administration's efforts to unseal the transcripts from the 2006 to 2008 federal investigation under U.S. Attorney Alexander Acosta, tied to Epstein's 2008 non-prosecution agreement. Epstein previously had been arrested in July of 2006 on state charges in Florida for soliciting prostitution, leading to his Sweetheart 2008 plea deal. The plea deal, proven in the transcript of Alex Acosta's interview, discussed Epstein belonging to intelligence as a reason for the lenient deal, and he was told to leave it alone. Now the Democrats and Tom Massey are crying from the rooftops about releasing the Epstein files, but again, we have Democratic-appointed judges blocking very specific transcripts between 2006 and 2008, and not a peep from Democrats or Massey about that part of it. So he says Kash Patel knows those transcripts are a smoking gun. Yeah, they would be. They would be. But do they even exist? I don't know on that, but they did subpoena Alex Acosta, and he appears in 3 days, so perhaps we'll learn more when that happens. Where are we? India and Iran have joined Belarus and Russia in their military drills. Not much of a story there. They've been doing drills for days now. Tyler Robinson, the suspect in the murder of Charlie Kirk, was to be charged in Utah today. There's this rumor going around that his father rejected the $1.15 million reward for his son and the information, demanding that it go to the Kirk family. I don't know if that's legit or not. I can't find anything on it. Let me take a look again. Matthew Robinson, the father of 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, who people suspect killed Charlie Kirk, vowed to donate a $1.15 million reward to Kirk's family after he helped encourage his son to surrender to law enforcement. Let's look at the fact checking. It says it's a rumor. Says it's a rumor. So there's that. I don't know. You know those things go. Anyway, let's look at the latest with this today, and we'll move on.
5:45. We continue our coverage right now. There's a report this morning of an online confession from the man accused of gunning down Charlie Kirk. Doug Luzader is live in Washington. Doug, good morning.
Good morning.
So the report comes just as Tyler Robinson scheduled to have his first day in court, essentially saying, I had the chance and I'm going to take it. So what do we expect today when obviously this will be a high-profile appearance, even if it is likely by video?
Well, yeah, it will be by video if it happens. I mean, this is scheduled to happen later on this afternoon, and these would be the state charges against Tyler Robinson. We do expect those charges to include aggravated murder. Now, the aggravated part of that is important because that could potentially carry the death penalty. And at the same time, you have the Justice Department considering their own set of charges.
I've heard they still have the firing squad death penalty, Wouldn't there be some irony there? I know the guy's on suicide watch. I don't know if that appearance happened this afternoon or not. I assume it did, but that's that. And in another twist, George Zinn, the man who falsely told police he shot Charlie Kirk moments after the assassination, has now been charged with possessing child porn. Just, you never know. It's talk about a twist. So I bet he wishes he had not participated in that or had kept his mouth shut. Some people are upset about this. Queer Resistance, Agitate, Educate, Organize lecture. It's happening September 27th, right where, Charlie Kirk did his thing. It says, does it concern you? The University of Utah is allowing this to take place on campus inside their Unity Lounge, being led by someone under investigation for allegedly having foreknowledge of Charlie Kirk's assassination. I get why it's more poignant. And this goes with it somehow.
These students who were regular medical students, they came and spoke, and basically what they were saying was they were wearing their white coats, they looked like medical students. They were like, we're the reason that America's calling Cuba terrorist. And they were saying, well, if we're terrorists, we're proud to be terrorists because we're sending doctors around the world. And if that's our terror, then so be it, right? But here's this little island a couple of miles away from America, 90 miles away from America, and they have a president who talks like us. They have a president who understands the need for a liberated Palestine. And I think that was, that definitely altered my world.
Interesting. Weird. I don't know. A lot of people are getting fallout for their mouths, like Ilhan Omar. They filed a resolution to strip her of committee assignments after her disgraceful remarks about the Charlie Kirk assassination.
All new at 2, a warning for Democrats and the legacy media as critics say they are failing to grasp the enormous impact of Charlie Kirk's legacy and are oblivious to the political uprising his assassination could ignite. Welcome back to a second hour of America Reports.
That goes on forever, and I know you've heard that bit of news already. We're going to move forward. Somebody was pointing out that it was odd that Charlie Kirk and George Floyd both have the same birthday, 20 years apart, but the same birthday. I don't know what to make of stuff like that, but that's a week after my birthday. I know that much. I saw this today. For those of you up in the northern part of Illinois, it says the mayor of Aurora ordered the fire chief to ignore the orders of the president in regards to the flag being at half-mast for the lost Charlie Kirk. Please let him know what you think. Yeah. I don't know if somebody can get in trouble for that or not. I was surprised here in my little town to see most of the flags, all of them, as far as I saw, at half staff. There was an issue at Texas State. People keep acting out. This is so sick. Somebody was executed. People can't control their stupidity. It's so revealing. So this was the incident at Texas State, and then there was one at Texas Tech. Looks like he might have issues. And then at Texas Tech.
Yo, homie dead. Yo, homie dead. He got shot in the head. Yo, homie dead. Yeah, homie dead.
There's a lot of people on the left I don't like Adam Schiff for one. Can't stand the guy, but if he was executed, I would talk about the story respectfully at the very least. Yeah, it's a hell of a culture, isn't it, William? This was an idea that SG Anon posted for Congress, the Charlie Act, creating honesty and removing lies and information exchange. A reboot of the gutted Smith-Mundt Act. So, it's a proposal. Interesting one. Definitely like the name. Creating honesty and removing lies and information exchange. The Charlie Act. 5 NFL teams declined the moment of silence for Charlie Kirk, yet they all celebrated a moment of silence for George Floyd. That includes the Ravens, the Bengals, the Lions, the Colts, and the Vikings. I'm not surprised the Vikings, they got male cheerleaders for crying out loud. Disgrace, they should all be fined, in my opinion. Should all be fined for it. This from Texas. Over 100 teachers in Texas will now have their teacher certification suspended and become ineligible to teach in Texas public schools after they endorsed Charlie Kirk's assassination or incited more violence, according to Governor Abbott. They're all finding out all right. The Texas Education Agency is investigating Texas teachers whose actions called for or incite violence following the assassination. Well, about time they cracked down. Now, if only they could get the students in line. This from General Flynn. If it is determined that a foreign power assassinated Charlie Kirk or was behind his assassination, there should be hell to pay. It's now being reported by the FBI that this is a possibility. If this is true, there will most certainly be other hit teams in CONUS who are focused on other targets. The White House needs to inform the American people as soon as possible what they know. Local law enforcement across the country better have already received a bolo with as many specific details as possible. Don't kid yourself. There's a war on in America, and everything and everyone we hold dear is at risk. That's from the general. People were mad about this. Netanyahu was out talking again. He had this sign behind him. It says 50 states, 1 Israel. Well, most Americans are grieving the loss of Charlie Kirk. Over 250 bipartisan U.S. state legislators representing all 50 states, specifically 5 from each state, are in Israel right now. These were state-level lawmakers, not federal U.S. politicians like members of Congress. Why lawmakers specifically? I have a feeling since many are speculating Israel's involvement in Charlie Kirk's death, in the coming months these lawmakers are going to be pushing laws specific to Israel. Probably right about that. That's from MJ True. From Pam Bondi, she's kind of, telling you, people say, we got freedom of speech. Hate speech that crosses the line into threats of violence is not protected by the First Amendment. It's a crime. For far too long, we've watched the radical left normalize threats, call for assassinations, and cheer on political violence. That era is over, and it needs to be. This woman got in trouble. She assaulted the co-founder at a Charlie Kirk memorial. I know you've seen so many of these, but...
You are not the enemy. The devil is the enemy. Let him be. Put her down. What does she have in her pocket? Charlie would. I don't know. Pat her down. Someone needs to pat her down. No. Yes. No. She attacked.
I'm pretty proud of MAGA people for staying calm throughout this. That 19-year-old yesterday that went running through the memorial there in Utah, I think, they kind of threw him down a little bit, and some people were getting a little violent, but they've had a lot of self-control throughout this whole thing. Syria and the United States are working together to reach security understandings with Israel. Should be careful with that. They like to bomb their friends.
Now, Syria is negotiating with Israel to reach a security agreement that would see Israel leave areas it occupied after the December overthrow of Bashar al-Assad. Following the fall of Assad government last year, Israel deployed troops to the UN-patrolled buffer zone on the Golan Heights.
Wonder if there's anyone left in Syria. They got wiped out big time. This from Colonel Bosey today. If you feel like everything's falling apart, look closer. It's actually falling into place. That's a little positivity for you. And from the White House, one nation under God. Just a little bit of positive posting today. Sometimes we need it. Luigi Mangione had the charges dropped against him as far as the terrorism charges are concerned. It's not all charges.
We have breaking news. A judge has dismissed terrorism charges against the suspect in the United Healthcare CEO murder case. That suspect appeared in a Manhattan courtroom for the first time in months, where the judge dismissed 2 counts of murder as a crime of terrorism. But the rest of the indictment remains, including second-degree murder charges. And that suspect has pleaded not guilty. Let's bring in ABC Chief Investigative Correspondent Aaron Katersky, who was inside the...
Second-degree murder seems to fit right in this case for me. You know, it was a crime of passion in a way. Terrorist, that seems a bit far. Fani Willis, the Georgia Supreme Court finally ruled that she's officially off the Fulton Trump RICO case. Like, done. Finito.
County District Attorney Fani Willis can no longer personally prosecute President Donald Trump. The Georgia Supreme Court has declined hearing her appeal after being removed from the landmark election interference case last year.
Atlanta News First reporter Chelsea Beinfor is live at the Nathan Deal Judicial Center with more.
Okay. They didn't want to hear her appeal. She made an ass of herself. Trump, again, I had mentioned this yesterday, headed off to the United Kingdom on a state visit to meet with King Charles, Kate Middleton, the Princess of Wales, Keir Starmer, and more, of course.
Well, President Trump is traveling to the United Kingdom today. He'll be greeted with pomp and circumstance from the royal family at Windsor Castle. Prince William and Princess Catherine will greet the president and the first lady there, followed by a meeting with King Charles and Queen Camilla. But the visit is more about just pleasantries. President Trump also said to sign a nuclear deal between the U.S. and the U.K. And joining us now to talk more about that is former Deputy National Security Advisor to President Trump, Victoria Coates. Victoria, great to have you. Thank you for being here this morning. So this new deal set to make it easier and quicker for companies to build nuclear plants in both the U.S. and the U.K. There are supporters who say this is going to create jobs, be a reliable source of energy, drive down household bills. It's also carbon-free. What are your thoughts on the overall ramifications?
Working on nuclear energy, it sounds like a plan to get them off of Russian oil, you know, and they all need energy plans of some sort. So obviously Robert Redford died today at the age of 89. People were pointing out the potential significance of him being from Utah. You know, I don't know that there's any connection there, but it is what it is.
And as we mentioned briefly, actor Robert Redford has died. His publicist said he passed away in his sleep early this morning at his home in the mountains outside of Provo, Utah, surrounded by loved ones. He was nominated for an acting Oscar for The Sting in 1973. He did win an Oscar for Best.
Been a lot of weird things happening in Utah, it seems like. Probably only going to get weirder this week. And he wasn't the only one that passed away. Former Governor Jim Edgar, former governor of Illinois, passed away over the weekend at the age of 79.
The death of former Illinois Governor Jim Edgar. He died this morning at the age of 79 from complications from pancreatic cancer. One of the most successful and popular politicians in recent Illinois history. Erica Sargent looks back at the man remembered as a statesman who brought civility and stability to Springfield.
I, Jim Edgar, do solemnly swear.
He was actually a good governor for Illinois. He was born in the same town I was born in. I know there was some this and that, but I think he was one of the few governors that walked away mostly scandal-free. Either way, Illinois was halfway decent the many long years that he was our governor. Pritzker's declared the flag ordered at half-staff in honor of Jim Edgar, and he did declare a disaster after the flooding that occurred in the northern counties at the end of July.
Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker has issued a disaster proclamation for Cook County residents who suffered damage from flash flooding in late July. The proclamation now opens up more access to state resources for home and business owners. Those heavy rains hit the southwest suburbs especially hard.
I don't remember that, but I'm not in the southwest suburbs or the northern part of Illinois. FBI's Arctic Frost operation exposed. Chuck Grassley revealed whistleblower documents showing the Biden administration targeted Republicans, including Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA. He announced that an FBI whistleblower provided records detailing Operation Arctic Frost, a 2022 FBI investigation launched by anti-Trump agent Timothy Thibault that went beyond probe election issues to broadly surveil and investigate Republican political entities such as Charlie Kirk.
I'm going to provide examples of that today, including making public new whistleblower records. At your nomination hearing, I made public records that whistleblowers provided me about Arctic Frost. Arctic Frost was the FBI case opened and approved by antitrust Trump FBI agent Thibault. Arctic Frost then became Jack Smith's elector case against then citizen Trump and now President Trump. These new records show that Arctic Frost was much broader than just an electoral matter. The case was expanded to Republican organizations. Some examples of the group that Ray FBI sought to place under political investigation included the Republican National Committee, Republican Attorney General's Association, and various Trump political groups. In total, 92 Republican targets, including Republican groups and Republican-linked individuals, were placed under investigative scope of Arctic Frost. On that political list was one of Charlie Kirk's group's Turning Point USA. In other words, Arctic Frost wasn't just a case to politically investigate Trump. It was the vehicle by which partisan FBI agents and Department of Justice prosecutors could achieve their partisan ends and improperly investigate the entire Republican political apparatus. So today, Senator Johnson and I are making these records public for the entire country to see, and I hope a lot of people are interested in seeing what government can do when various agencies have a political agenda. My investigative work has also exposed the political way in which Peter Navarro was investigated and prosecuted. When FBI agent Thibault found out that Biden's DOJ would prosecute Navarro, he said, "Wow, great." That's a quote, unquote. Through whistleblowers, I've obtained a audio.
All right, so listening to the chat there, they were saying you can turn off the crowns, the top fans thing. It's goofy. I don't like it. So I turned it off. Recently declassified Federal Bureau of Investigation documents made public by Chuck Grassley reveal allegations of a foreign bribery plot involving Hunter Biden, former President Joe Biden, and Ukraine's Burisma Holdings. The files, containing interviews from 2017 through 2019, claim that Burisma's owner, Mikola Zlochevsky, attempted to bribe then Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko with $100 million to stop an Interpol investigation. The money allegedly moved through a Latvian shell company linked to the Bidens. We'll have to see how that develops. Couple things people found interesting. Trump's man with a plan in Hollywood post, and this from Vincent Kennedy. Unless you are using the Ethiopian calendar, then it's only May 1st of 2018. We made it to Monday. Now I'm going to bed. Here's a sincere question. Why would American use an Ethiopian calendar? We don't even use the Julian calendar or the Hebrew calendar or the Mayan calendar. And Vincent Kennedy says it was the agreed upon calendar for time travel. I thought that was pretty interesting. He's got the most interesting posts out there. It's a thinker. This from Trump. Eli Lilly is set to build a $5 billion manufacturing plant in Virginia. I'm not a fan of Eli Lilly. There was a girl that literally hung herself during a trial of an antidepressant in their bathroom once. I remember reading that. Anyway, you know, the pharma stuff's going down anyway, but we'll take the $5 billion investment before they do. Trump files defamation and libel lawsuit against New York Times in the amount of $15 billion.
President Trump says he is suing the New York Times for $15 billion over claims of defamation and libel. He announced the move on social media, writing in part, "The Times has engaged in a decades-long method of lying about your favorite president, me, my family, business, the America First movement, MAGA, and our nation as a whole." This comes almost a week after Trump threatened legal action against the paper over a report alleging he had sent a sexually suggestive note to Jeffrey Epstein for his birthday in 2003.
Ah, yes, the homosexual birthday card debacle. Ridiculous. Anyway, $15 billion lawsuit. Pretty intense. Marjorie Taylor Greene exposes Weather Modification Act. Now we know they've been doing it for decades as a multi-billion-dollar industry funded by taxpayer dollars. Let's hear what she had to say.
For years, anybody who questioned weather modification was labeled crazy or a conspiracy theorist. Now we've learned that they've been doing it for decades. And not only is it a multi-billion-dollar industry, the government has invested a lot of Americans' hard-earned tax dollars into it. They've been forced to spin it, and apparently it is now the only way we are going to save humanity. However, let's look at the risk. According to GAO, injecting a cloud with silver iodide increases precipitation anywhere from 0 to 20%. It could be even more, but the truth is that we really don't know for certain. The questions that are asked is, can you control the exact amount of precipitation that a cloud will produce if it is injected?
She sure is working hard, I gotta admit, but I don't know. The stuff she says, some of it, I don't know. But she makes good points, though. You know, you really can't take any side in the Israel-Gaza stuff except the side of the people. You can be mad at Israel's government. You can be mad at Hamas controlling the Palestinian side of things. But it's the people that get screwed and stuck. So there was this video that came out today.
This is Hillary. How you doing? Good to see you. Thank you.
Hillary Clinton and Huma Abedin, or somebody playing Hillary Clinton, I gotta admit, doesn't really look like Hillary Clinton.
This is Hillary. How you doing?
Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, follow Huma Abedin is a big point of something to pay attention to in the Q post. Instead of being vague and ambiguous, let me explain what Q says regarding Hillary Clinton and Huma's relationship. Q drops frequently use phrases like follow Huma or where is Huma to emphasize her as a central figure worth tracking. October 2017 had Huma along Hillary Clinton in context of Pizzagate, etc. Huma, people highlighted it as ties a Harvard University Muslim alumni. Interesting. Q constantly mentioned Alice in Wonderland, which was a way to bypass national security laws, and Anons eventually figured out it meant Hillary Clinton and Saudi Arabia. Hillary, as we know, transmitted classified information over non-secure networks tied to the Anthony Weiner laptop scandal, where insurance files are hinted, and you guys know about that and the stuff. Her family ties are significant, with her parents, particularly her father, accused of deep involvement within the Muslim Brotherhood. Portraying Huma as shaped by those ideologies. This extends to espionage, foreign influence, and complicity in corruption or trafficking. In a nutshell, Huma is depicted as a shadowy infiltrator and enabler within U.S. politics, often as a Muslim Brotherhood asset, embedded via her family background and professional ties. She's accused of facilitating foreign influence from Saudi Arabia and Pakistan and American institutions through the Clinton Foundation and email scandals. She's somebody to pay attention to. And you know, she got married very recently to George Soros' son. All right, moving on from Huma Abedin and fake Hillary Clinton. Derek Johnson posts, there's a huge difference between celebrating a death and breaking down a special operation. I assume he's catching shit for breaking down a special operation. We're going to look at something from him in a little bit. I had to show this. These two boys caused $50,000 worth of damage breaking into a Florida elementary school. This is crazy.
Two boys, one aged 12 and the other 13, broke into an elementary school in Deltona, Florida on Saturday twice, causing significant damage to the school's media center. The boys first broke into Friendship Elementary School during the day, then returned at night. Body cam footage from responding officers shows the aftermath of the rampage. $50,000 worth of damage was done to the media center. The boys smashed a glass door, flipped tables and toppled shelves, graffitied all over the premises, destroyed books and more. Fallujah.
I mean, it looks like a hurricane went through there. Wow. Wild. Had to point out that little story. All right. And this story is important too. Officials warn against the supplement sold in stores after 3 overdose deaths in the LA area involving this kratom supplement, I think.
New at 11, there's an urgent warning over the use of a synthetic kratom supplement after multiple fatal overdoses in LA County. Local health leaders say the 3 deadly overdoses are linked to the kratom compound known as 7-OH. The victims were between the ages of 18 and 40. While alcohol was present in all cases, there was no other substance identified as contributing to their deaths.
This weekend, I am making a video, or I'm going to do a broadcast, just kind of a side thing about fentanyl use, what it did to my life, how you can save somebody's life, and just I'm going to do a sit-down talk about the whole thing in hopes that it'll be a good video to share. It concerns me, the drug world these kids are getting tied in. They don't know the dangers of fentanyl. Trump's demanding a security boost for the Supreme Court and other federal agencies at that.
Now, days after the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk, President Trump asking Congress to approve new funding to help protect federal officials. Our Washington correspondent, Kristen Eskow, has reaction from Capitol Hill.
House Speaker Mike Johnson says he's ready to act on the White House's request for Congress to boost security across the federal government.
We have to protect our judges and those who serve in those 2 branches, but also, of course, in Congress.
I'm kind of more feeling like they need to boost security on college campuses somehow. Seems to be the place that needs it the most. least 7 people were killed and dozens injured in a Russian strike on a Ukrainian city via these drones. Looked more like a missile to me than a drone, but yep, still a lot of back and forth going on there. Meanwhile, Kristi Noem was in Chicago today as the blitz rolls on. You know, here's what I'm thinking. You know, recently Trump said we're not sending the National Guard to Chicago. I think it's so everyone would quiet down and forget about it while ICE is there doing its major operations.
And topping your 10 at 10, we have learned that Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem is in the Chicago area. This raid video posted by Noem earlier today showing people being taken into ICE custody. Now, this comes as we are learning about increased ICE activity in DuPage County. Community leaders telling us dozens of people were detained in West Chicago yesterday, with arrests happening at a grocery store and outside of an apartment complex. Video posted to a West Chicago Facebook group shows federal immigration agents pulling a driver from a car. Agents arrested another man on the sidewalk. Neighbors are concerned about parents being targeted during school pickup and drop-off.
My message is to the kids of West Chicago. There are a lot of grown-ups out here trying to protect you, and we will do what we have to do to keep you safe and to keep your parents safe, because you are beloved in this community.
District 33 issued what it called a secure and teach protocol. Classes continue to go on as planned, but exterior doors remain locked because of ICE activities nearby.
Okay, so that's Kristi Noem's day today in Chicago. Again, I think Trump is allowing his federal agencies to conduct the job they need to do by threatening to send National Guard to these places. House GOP leaders unveil a plan to fund the government until November 21st to avoid the shutdown.
House Republicans say they will release details today of their plan to avoid a government shutdown. It is expected to fund the government at current levels through mid-November, but faces a political minefield ahead. Joining us to discuss, Brett Samuels, White House reporter here at The Hill. So, Brett, House conservatives say they don't like CRs. They say these are Biden-era spending levels. We've already had several say they're not going to support it, but we have seen this movie before.
Yeah, Drew, we've seen the movie, we've seen the sequel, we've seen the third edition of the movie. This does seem to be, you know, if not an annual occurrence, multiple times a year where we see these funding fights where ultimately you come up to this deadline. The simplest solution that everyone can seem to agree on is to kind of kick the can down the road with one of these continuing resolutions. House conservatives in particular kind of put up a fight about this, say they won't support it. Only for enough to support it to get it across the finish line. So, you know, if history is a guide, this is going to get across the finish line without the government shutting down. But of course, there are variables. You know, in the House, Republicans have a very narrow majority.
Yeah, we will see on that one. What do you guys think? They always seem to avoid the shutdown somehow. A couple more things I wanted to look at that just popped up real quick before we move on. This from Anna Paulina Luna. Armed queers SLCs now under FBI investigation as an extended network related to Charlie's killer. These are the people that were supposed to be coming there in 11 days. The founder of Armed Queers SLC is also an organizer for PSL, which is funded by Neville Singham, who we talked about yesterday, and the Chinese Communist Party. Why did Armed Queers SLC delete their Instagram after Charlie was murdered? Why is Neville Singham affiliated with radical extremist groups that may have ties to Charlie Kirk's assassin? Pretty weird, huh? I guess they won't be coming to Utah to the school now in 11 days if they're under investigation. That's pretty wild. That's the first names I've heard named as networks related to Charlie Kirk's death. So that's Armed Queers SLC, who are tied to PSL, Neville Singham, who's tied to the Chinese Communist Party. So I guess that begs the question, is China behind this assassination stuff? Interesting. No one mentioned China until now, huh? All right, what else we got to look at real quick? I've seen this pop up, but I couldn't find a story about it. Autism and vaccine scientists arrested for allegedly stealing $1 million from the CDC. A Danish researcher central to the debate over vaccines and autism was arrested for allegedly stealing $1 million in research funding. Interesting. One more thing tied to Charlie I wanted to show you here. A couple things that Candace Owens mentioned. And then we'll move on. I don't know if this ties to that video from the intro. Don't push me on names. She states while Charlie Kirk was in the Hamptons, he tried to make the case that he felt it was wrong that he could not criticize Israel. If he criticized Netanyahu, it would be seen as anti-Semitic. He was facing immense pressure and threats because of the shifting stance on Israel and who he platformed. She said, "No one can shut me up at this point besides her husband or Erica Kirk herself." Let's see if she says anything else in this video, and then we will completely move on. I forgot there was also a shooting in Minneapolis. We probably should look at this real quick.
A number of people got shot at a homeless encampment just off of Lake Street earlier this evening. This is tragic, it is horrible, it's unacceptable, and sadly it's not surprising. These homeless encampments are not safe, either for the people that are in them, nor are they safe for the surrounding neighborhood. With this particular one, we've been saying this for months. We have been met with resistance when trying to close this particular encampment. We've been trying to do everything possible to get people into shelter, into permanent housing, to make sure that they've got wraparound services, care, addiction treatment, you name it. And here's the truth. We have tried. We have entered and are entering litigation for a public health nuisance. And at the same time, this is a whole lot worse than a nuisance. This is an open danger. The neighborhood deserves better. We will be clearing this encampment immediately after the crime scene has been investigated.
Maybe Minneapolis needs the National Guard, one might contend. We got a lot to look at tonight. Let's see if there's anything else here in this video real quick, and then we're done with the news.
Okay, so I want to be very clear here. No one, and I mean absolutely no one, outside of my husband and Erica Kirk has the power to shut me up right now. That's it. Two people. If you got to make an appeal, you got to go to them, okay? That's what I just said is meant to be a dig to the donors that are making frantic calls trying to politic this situation under control because they know I'm telling the truth, okay? Frantic calls from Seth Dillon. Oh, my God. The truth is that Charlie was under immense pressure and he was facing financial threats over his shifting stance on Israel, over who he was hosting, from his podcast to people that were on stage at America Fest, Dave Smith, Tucker Carlson. That is reality, my friends. Again, I want those people to know your money means nothing to me. I already said no to it. That's why I don't care to be in those circles. Make me persona non grata. I know what I did wrong. I looked you in your face and I said no to your money.
Yeah, okay. There's probably more in this article, actually. It says, billionaire Bill Ackman convened a stormy Israel intervention with Charlie Kirk, sources say. A month before Charlie Kirk's death, Billionaire pro-Israel money man Bill Ackman arranged an intervention in the Hamptons during which sources say he and others hammered Kirk for the conservative leader's growing criticism of Israeli influence in Washington. Kirk came away fretting about Israeli blackmail, sources say, as he contemplated a Catholic conversion. September 11th, one day after his assassination, Bill Ackman took to Twitter to trumpet his relationship with the late conservative operative. I feel incredibly privileged to have spent a day and shared a meal with Charlie Kirk. What, you notice they keep calling Charlie Kirk an operative? I noticed that's happened a few times. All right. Let's see what's on the lineup today. As far as what we're going to watch, I know we're going to check out something from Derek Johnson at some point. There is more Juan, and something I particularly want to watch is this interview with Ivan Raiklin. And of course, we had a couple things left over from last night as far as Field McConnell and SG Anon. Tonight we're going to start with Ivan Raiklin.